What's going on, guys? I decided to switch up the format just a little bit for the video today. I'm going to be focusing on a little bit of the presentation and the bottles themselves for the discussion. I'm going to be talking about 5 fragrances that I did not like the first time I smelled them. I gave them another chance for whatever reason. Maybe I had a decant, or I'll actually talk about that a little bit in each of the videos. But I think this is a nice video to kind of highlight how it can be very useful to try a fragrance more than once, why it's really nice to have a sample instead of just trying it once on skin, because a lot of these fragrances have become some of my favorite fragrances, and if I had just gone off my initial impression, the first sniff that I had, or even the first time I wore them, I probably wouldn't have bought them at all, but I do really enjoy them, and they're honestly some of my favorite fragrances. So, some of these fragrances actually might surprise you a little bit, but without further ado, we're going to get into the video in question. The first one actually is a bit of a heavy hitter in the community, and it might surprise you a little bit because I've talked about this one a lot. And this was something that I actually ended up blind buying, and that is Viktor and Rolf Spice Bomb Extreme. This was not a total blind buy because I had smelt the original, although I had only smelt a sample of it. So again, I didn't have a full wearing of it. But I'll be honest with you, I actually had heard a ton of this from, I believe it was Jeremy Fragrance, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna blind buy this. The original doesn't smell that bad, and if this is, better, then I'm gonna like it. Now I did try it. I blind bought it full retail as well. So this is one of the first bottles I ever bought, and I really was disappointed, and I had actual purchasing regrets for this fragrance. I did also buy it in the mid of summer, and I think that was a huge player because I have worn this in the high heat before, and I almost choked myself out. But this did definitely become one that, I really love this fragrance in the fall, in the winter. If you're in a controlled environment, climate-wise, this is also a really great one. It's spicy, it's sweet, it has a little bit of what I call that Coca-Cola gummy vibe in the mid, which I love when a fragrance has that. So it smells amazing, it's long-lasting, it's really great for, if you're going to be snuggling up to someone, or if you want a little bit of spice and warmth in the winter, and it's just a great fragrance, great performance. And of course, the bottle. Love the bottle on this one. You gotta love that grenade look. So that one is the first on the list. Was absolutely not a fan of this when I first got it. Now it's probably one of my favorite fragrance lines of all time. I don't like Night Vision, but I love the original. I love this one. I even like Fresh as well, which I don't get terrible performance from. I have about 6 hours from it, and I think it's nice to wear in the summer. Anyways, that is the first one. The second one on the list is actually none other than Aqua de Joe Profumo. Now, I got a sample of this as well because it was hyped up, and this one I did actually get a sample of first. And the thing that immediately came to my mind when I first smelled this was it smells like a urinal. I'm not even kidding, it did smell or remind me of a urinal. And I think it's because I get a very strong salty vibe, and I guess there's a lot of sodium in urinals, and it just was horrible. I'm like, why would anyone want to walk around smelling like that? And I just could not get the hype behind this fragrance. And so I think the hype is why I gave it another chance, and I did have a sample decant of 5ml. And the second time I wore it as well, I hated it. But I tried it again. I think the third time is when it really clicked for me, and it just gives me this really beautiful ocean breeze vibe, and the saltiness is something that reminds me more now of the ocean rather than say a urinal. It actually reminds me a lot more of, say, being on a boat and the breeze in your hair and the smell of the ocean than it does anything else. And it does perform really well as well. So do really enjoy that one now. It's one of my favorite daily wears. It's one of my favorite to wear in the spring and the summer. It's nice to wear to the office as well because the incense gives it a little bit of a a nice bit of a classy vibe. So that is the next one on this list. Next on this list is another designer fragrance, and I think the reason that I didn't like this at first is because I was not really a big fan of strong vetiver fragrances, and this is actually really well done, and for the price point, I mean, you're basically getting a really high quality fragrance for the price. But that is Encre Noir, and the first one that I actually tried was Sport, and I think I didn't like it because it has this really weird inky vibe. It's very earthy, the vetiver is very prominent, and for me, I really had to get more used to a heavy vetiver fragrance. But I think this one only took about two wearings. The first time I just wasn't really that impressed. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it. But I really enjoy this one, and it does have this really nice, the inkiness, yes, it's there. It doesn't bother me really, but it has this nice sort of watery, marshy kind of a vibe, this earthiness to it that's really nice. And it has a nice darkness to it, which is nice in a summer fragrance. It's a little bit unique in that respect, as far as summer fragrances go anyways. But it is definitely one that's a little bit more polarizing. But I think for people who like vetiver fragrances, this is a really, really good one that you can get, given especially the price point. You're getting a very high quality vetiver fragrance for a very good price. Now, I do actually like Alex Drem better, but I tried it after this one. So I liked vetiver a lot more, and I, of course, liked the line more. So this one, or Alex Drem, was easier for me to like, and I liked it right away. So that was really the one that got me more into vetiver fragrances, vetiver dominant fragrances. So I do appreciate that, because there are a lot of nice, classy, gentlemanly fragrances that have that note. So do really enjoy that one now. But if I hadn't given it a chance... The next one on this list, actually, a subscriber asked me a very long time ago to review this fragrance. I did oblige, and I did pick this fragrance up, and the reason I didn't review it for a while was that I really hated it on first sniff. It just smelled like a mess to me. But I do want to still do a review of this one, because I think maybe it matured more in the bottle, or my nose changed a little bit, and I do actually really, really like this fragrance, and that is Dark Rebel by John Varvatos. I think when I first tried this, it was quite a synthetic mess to my nose. I couldn't really pick out anything, but trying it now especially, you know, it really has all of the things that I really, really like in a masculine fragrance. You know, it's leathery, it's rugged, it's rough. It has a little bit of a masculine toughness to it. And it is dark, so I do actually really enjoy this one. The only real complaint that I think I can come up with on this one is that the performance is fairly poor. But it is also something that is, I think it's like $20 for a bottle of this, so I really don't mind, you know, applying this, you know, 4 hours after putting it on in the first place. But it just has this really nice, dark, masculine touch to it that makes it an absolutely enjoyable fragrance. And for the price point, it is a great cheapie in my opinion. But I am going to be doing a full review on that one somewhat soon. I want to digest it a little bit more, but even now for this video, I took the cap off and sniffed it, and man, it's really, really good for the price point, and I'm glad I gave it a second chance. But if you do still watch my channel, I know you did ask me, and I did say I would review this. The review is coming up somewhat soon, but I do apologize for taking so long to get to this one. But the main reason, as I mentioned, that I didn't is because I just really, really hated it on first sniff. And the fifth fragrance is actually a niche fragrance. If you've seen some of my top lists, I've actually talked about this one a lot. I recently re-reviewed it. Love the bottle. Always thought the bottle was nice looking, and it is none other than Parfums de Marley Galloway. This is a fresh, clean, musky fragrance. Has nice citric elements. Citrus is, strongest in the opening. Some level of citric elements still remain, in the mid and so forth, but it's just such a nice, clean, fresh fragrance that has a nice pepperiness to it as well, that does last a really long time. So for me, it's a classy fragrance. It's very easy to wear, but I didn't really like it the first time I smelled it. I mean, I did like the initial citrus burst, but for me, the clean musky vibe just wasn't, I guess, what I was looking for or something that I enjoyed that much. But when I did revisit this one, I found, you know what, this is one that really suits a lot of occasions for me. Like, I like wearing this to the office, or if you want to go to a more formal occasion and you just want to be very professional, this is one that's easy to like, but also very clean and clean smelling. So I think it has a lot of versatility there, a lot of enjoyment for me as well. It's one that I find myself, you know, pulling the cap off and smelling quite frequently. But again, I wasn't really a big fan of it the first time. So that is essentially the list. And I think this is, especially these ones, are some of my favorite fragrances now, are really kind of the reason for me that I think it's important to, when you can anyways, give a fragrance a couple of wearings, because a lot of them I find that I don't like them the first time I wear them. There are actually some fragrances that will love at first sniff for me. And actually, I'm going to do a small series here. So there are these ones, and then I'm going to be doing one for 5 fragrances that were love at first sniff. And I actually have another idea for 5 fragrances I tried really hard to like, but I just couldn't. But those are upcoming. But I hope you enjoyed this review, guys, and leave a comment down below. What is a fragrance that you didn't like right away, but absolutely love now? And, you know, if you like the content, guys, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.